All right, let's play a little game. Think of the craziest geography fact you know. Got one? Now, prepare to have your mind completely blown because today, we're diving into 30 geography facts that should be impossible. 1. Devon Island is the largest uninhabited island on Earth. Devon Island in Canada is the world's largest uninhabited island. Covering 55,000 square kilometers, it's about the size of Croatia. Yet no one lives there. And it's not just because it's cold. The landscape is so barren and Mars-like that NASA actually uses it to test rovers and train astronauts for Mars missions. If Earth had a place that felt like another planet, this would be it. 2. The Caucasus region has only 4 countries. The Caucasus region might sound like a vast and complex area, but surprisingly, it consists of only 4 countries: Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Russia. Even though the region stretches between Europe and Asia, there's always been a debate about where it actually belongs. Some people say it's part of Europe, others argue it's in Asia, and some just settle on calling it a borderland. 3. In 1900, only about 60 countries were recognized. If you time-traveled back to 1900 and tried to name all the countries in the world, you'd have a much easier job than today. Back then, only about 60 sovereign states were recognized. Huge empires like the British, Ottoman, and Austro-Hungarian controlled massive areas of land that are now independent nations. Over the next century, wars, revolutions, and independence movements redrew the map completely. 4. NATO has expanded to 32 members. As of February 2025, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, has 32 member countries, with Sweden officially joining as the latest member. Finland became a NATO member in April 2023, followed by Sweden's accession in 2024, marking a significant expansion of the alliance. NATO originally started with 12 founding members in 1949 and has steadily grown, strengthening its collective defense commitments across North America and Europe. 5. The Middle East has 16 UN-recognized countries plus Palestine. When people think of the Middle East, they often picture just a few major countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Egypt. But the region actually consists of 16 UN-recognized nations, plus Palestine, which is recognized by some countries but not all. With a total population of 460 million, the Middle East has more people than the entire United States. 6. China has 105 cities with over 1 million people. If you think New York or London is a massive city, wait until you hear about China. China has a staggering 105 cities with over 1 million residents each. Some of these places, like Chongqing with its 32 million people, are bigger than entire countries. While most of the world's cities struggle with growth, China keeps adding megametropolises at an unbelievable rate. 7. Bahrain has the shortest land border in the world. Bahrain might not be the biggest country, but it holds a unique record: the shortest land border in the world. It shares just 196 meters of land with Saudi Arabia. That's less than 2 football fields. If you ever wanted to walk across an entire international border in under a minute, this would be the place to do it. 8. Kinshasa and Brazzaville are the closest capital cities. Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Brazzaville, the capital of the Republic of the Congo, are so close that you can literally see one from the other. They are just 1.6 kilometers apart, separated only by the Congo River. Despite being neighbors, these two cities belong to completely different countries, and you need a visa to travel between them. 9. No country in the world starts with W or X. Wow, that's surprising actually. There are countries that start with almost every letter in the alphabet, but not W or X. Even Wales doesn't count since it's part of the United Kingdom. Apparently, when countries were being named, W and X just got left out of the conversation. 10. France has the most maritime borders. When you think of France, you probably picture Europe. But France actually has the most maritime borders in the world, 53 of them. That's because France still has overseas territories spread across the planet, from the Caribbean to the Pacific. If you thought France was just one country in Europe, think again. 11. Brazil is the most biodiverse country on Earth. With a biodiversity index score of 0.78, Brazil is the most biodiverse country in the world. The Amazon rainforest alone is home to millions of species, many of which haven't even been discovered yet. If Earth had a final boss for nature, Brazil would be it. 12th, Tuvalu earns $7 million a year from its .tv domain. Tuvalu is one of the smallest countries in the world, both in size and population. But despite having fewer than 12,000 people, this tiny Pacific island nation has a surprisingly modern claim to fame. It makes millions of dollars a year just from its internet domain name, .tv. Since TV is commonly associated with television, media companies and streaming services around the world have been willing to pay big money to use the domain. In 2019 alone, over 8% of Tuvalu's total government revenue came from selling rights to the .tv domain. For a country with almost no major exports, Tuvalu might just be the first place to turn a web address into an economic lifeline. 13. China used more cement between 2011 to 2013 than the US did in the entire 20th century. China's rapid development is no joke. Between 2011 and 2013, China used more cement than the US did during the entire 20th century. To put that into numbers, China used 6.5 gigatons of cement in just 3 years. That's 6.5 billion tons, enough to build an entire new country out of concrete. Why so much? China has been rapidly expanding its cities, building highways, skyscrapers, and infrastructure at a pace never seen before. Entire cities have popped up almost overnight, and mega projects like the Three Gorges Dam and massive rail networks have required insane amounts of materials. This isn't just impressive, it's one of the most intense construction booms in human history. 14. Hyperion is the world's tallest tree. Nature has some insane records, but this one is truly mind-blowing. Deep in California's Redwood National Park, there's a tree called Hyperion, and it's officially the tallest tree in the world. Standing at 116 meters, 380 feet, Hyperion is taller than the Statue of Liberty. If it were a skyscraper, it would be over 30 stories high. Scientists think it's still growing. Its exact location is kept secret to protect it from tourists, but even if you could visit, good luck seeing the top. While standing at its base, it's almost impossible to take it all in. 15. Angel Falls is the tallest waterfall in the world. If you thought Niagara Falls was impressive, wait until you hear about Angel Falls in Venezuela. At 979 meters, 3,212 feet tall, Angel Falls is the highest waterfall in the world. That's more than 15 times taller than Niagara Falls. The water is falling from such an insane height that by the time it reaches the bottom, most of it has turned into mist. The waterfall is so remote that the only way to reach it is by plane, boat, and then a long hike through the jungle. But if you ever make it there, you'll be looking at one of the most breathtaking natural wonders on Earth. 16. The US experiences the most tornadoes per year. If you live in the United States, chances are you've heard of Tornado Alley. That's a region stretching through the Midwest where tornadoes hit regularly. But did you know that the US gets more tornadoes per year than any other country? On average, the US experiences 1,200 tornadoes annually. That's more than Canada, Australia, and all of Europe combined. Tornadoes happen when warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico collides with cold, dry air from Canada. And since the Great Plains are mostly flat, there's nothing to slow the storms down. 17th. Aconcagua is the tallest mountain outside Asia. Aconcagua in Argentina stands at 6,961 meters, making it the tallest peak in the western and southern hemispheres. It is part of the Andes mountain range and is one of the 7 summits, the highest mountains on each continent. Despite its extreme altitude, Aconcagua is one of the few high mountains that can be climbed without technical climbing equipment. 18. The US has the most airports in the world. The United States has more airports than any other country, with over 15,870 public and private airfields. This is more than double the number found in Brazil, which ranks second. The vast size of the country and the importance of air travel for both domestic and international transportation contribute to this massive number. 19. The Dead Sea is the lowest land-based point on Earth. The Dead Sea, located between Israel and Jordan, sits at 430 meters below sea level, making it the lowest land-based point on the planet. Due to its extreme salinity, the water is so dense that people can effortlessly float on its surface. The lake is slowly shrinking, and scientists predict that without intervention, it could disappear entirely in the future. 20. Japan has more vending machines than people per square kilometer. Japan is home to over 5 million vending machines, meaning it has more vending machines per square kilometer than people. These machines sell everything from snacks and drinks to hot meals, fresh fruit, and even umbrellas. Their popularity is due to Japan's love of convenience and its highly efficient urban planning. 21. If you drilled a hole straight through the earth from Argentina, you'd end up in China. Argentina and China are nearly perfect geographical antipodes, meaning they are located on opposite sides of the earth. If you could drill a straight hole from Buenos Aires, Argentina, you would end up somewhere near Shanghai, China. There are very few places on Earth where two major landmasses align this way. 22. Brazil has the highest number of freshwater fish species. Brazil's vast river systems, including the Amazon, contain more than 3,000 species of freshwater fish, the highest number of any country. Many of these species are found nowhere else on Earth, making the Amazon basin one of the most important ecosystems for aquatic biodiversity. 23. The world's population is still growing rapidly. Every year, the global population grows by more than 80 million people, and this trend is expected to continue for the rest of the century unless significant changes occur. The world's population reached 8 billion in 2022, and projections suggest it could reach 8.5 billion by 2030, 9.7 billion by 2050, and peak at around 10.4 billion in the 2080s. After that, it is expected to stabilize and remain at that level until 2100. This rapid growth poses significant challenges, especially in developing countries where resources such as food, water, and healthcare are already strained. The 46 least developed countries, LDCs, are among the fastest-growing regions, with many expected to double in population between 2022 and 2050. Sub-Saharan Africa, in particular, is projected to nearly double in size, surpassing 2 billion inhabitants by the late 2045s. 24. Wildlife populations have declined by 2/3 since 1970. While the human population has more than doubled since 1970, the population of wild animals has dropped by over 2/3. Habitat destruction, deforestation, pollution, and climate change have all contributed to the decline of wildlife across the globe. One of the biggest drivers of this loss is food production, which currently occupies 50% of all habitable land worldwide. Agriculture also accounts for 70% of global freshwater withdrawals, meaning that human food production is directly responsible for significant environmental changes. Unless conservation efforts are strengthened, we risk losing countless species forever. 25. The U.S. population is expected to decline after 2080. The United States is one of the few developed countries still experiencing population growth, but this is expected to change. Current projections suggest that the U.S. population will peak at nearly 370 million in 2080 before slightly declining to 366 million by 2100. The country's growth is primarily driven by immigration, as birth rates in the U.S. have steadily declined over the past few decades. Without immigration, the U.S. population would likely start shrinking much sooner. 26. The Earth always rotates eastward. The sun and stars appear to rise in the east and set in the west because Earth rotates eastward. This rotation is responsible for time zones, global wind patterns, and even ocean currents. If the Earth ever started rotating in the opposite direction, it would cause dramatic changes in climate and weather patterns. 27th. Africa has the most independent nations. Africa is the continent with the highest number of independent nations, home to 54 recognized countries. This makes it the most politically diverse continent, with nations that vary widely in language, culture, and governance. 28. Europe is the only continent without deserts. Unlike every other continent, Europe has no true deserts. While regions like Spain's Tabernas Desert are dry, they don't meet the classification of a true desert, which requires extremely low precipitation levels. This makes Europe unique in its climate distribution. 29. Bangkok has the longest city name in the world. Most people know Bangkok as the capital of Thailand, but its full name is a tongue-twisting 21 words long. Krung Thep Mahanakon, Amon Ratanakosin, Mahinthara, Ayuthaya Mahadilok, Phop Nopharat, Ratchathani Burirom, Udomracha Niwet Mahasathan, Amon, Pimen, Awatan, Sathit, Sakathatya with Sanukam Prasit. This translates to the City of Angels, the Great City, the Eternal Jewel City, and continues with elaborate descriptions. Locals simply call it Krung Thep, which means City of Angels. 30. The Mayan civilization is one of the oldest known civilizations. The Mayan civilization, which dates back to 2600 BC, is one of the oldest known civilizations in human history. The Maya thrived in what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, developing advanced cities, mathematics, astronomy, and written language long before European contact. Despite the decline of their civilization, millions of Maya descendants still live in the region today. If you made it this far, here's a challenge for you. Share the most unbelievable geography fact you know, one that didn't make this list. Let's see who can come up with the wildest one.